everyone, it's Karen from Essex Wildlife Trust, and today I'm going to be talking all about dandelions. Now, for a lot of people, dandelions are just a weed, but they are a wonderful plant for wildlife, and you can find them everywhere you go. And I've chosen dandelions because they are one of the lost words. Now, these were words that were taken out of the Oxford Junior Dictionary because we weren't using them often enough. And they're words that describe different plants and animals like bramble, acorn and creeper. So Robert Macfarlane and Jackie Morris have produced this beautiful book. It's actually a book of spells, and if we read spells out loud, we can bring these words back. So today I'm going to be looking for dandelions, I'm going to be finding out all about them, and I'm going to be sharing with you the dandelion spell. So I've found my dandelion. It's really not that hard because they grow absolutely everywhere. By the side of the road, maybe you've seen some around your school playing field, or even growing up through cracks in the pavement. But when you take a really close look, they're totally amazing. Right down here on the ground, the plant starts with a whirl of these spiky toothed leaves. Can you see those jagged shapes on the leaf? This is what gives dandelion its name. It comes from the French Dandelion, which means lion's tooth, for these sharp spiky teeth all the way along the leaves. And they grow in a rosette flat on the floor, so they're really close to the ground. Lots of good hidey holes for mini beasts, but it's also good food. I wonder if anybody's been nibbling this one. Can we see any holes in the leaf? Maybe where a slug or snail has had a bit of a nibble, or even a caterpillar. And of course rabbits really love to nibble them, so they're great food for wildlife. But did you know that dandelion leaves are edible too? When they're young like this, you can eat them in a salad, raw. They get a bit older and tougher, they get a bit bitter, so then they're best cooked and used in a soup, or even to make dandelion tea. Just remember though, never to eat anything from the wild unless a grown-up says it's okay to do that. And because these grow really close to the ground, it's a good idea to give them a wash before you try them. Never tried a dandelion leaf? Maybe I'll have a little nibble later and see what it tastes like. So these toothed leaves growing on the ground feed the plant. What we can't see is going deep into the ground is a long, thick root called a tap root, and this is the reason why dandelions can grow everywhere. Even when they're growing up through cracks in the pavement, that long tap root reaches down into the soil to find food and water to feed the plant. Really amazing little plant. So once the leaves are busy making food, the dandelion can start forming its flower bud there in the middle. Can you see that? And the flower bud's on a stalk so that it can reach up to find the sunshine, like the flower up here. Now, dandelions belong to a family called asters, and aster means star. Well, I think the flowers are sort of star-shaped, aren't they? Those spiky bits around there. And the amazing thing about this flower is it's actually not one flower. It's 150 to 200 tiny flowers joined together. It's called a compound or composite flower. So each of those little things that we think of as petals are actually an individual flower called a floret. Oh, I think there's somebody visiting that flower. You see a tiny beetle just on the petal. And this dandelion is a little bit closed because it's quite early in the morning still, and they close up at night when the sun goes down, and then as the sun comes up this morning and it warms up, those petals will open up to a flat star-shaped yellow flower, and that's an absolute feast for insects like bees and other pollinators, and
Like that little pollen beetle that's wandering around in there at the moment. So tiny. It's a little bit hard to see. You can just see him moving in the middle there. So because that one flower head is made up of that many little tiny ray floret flowers, there's lots of pollen, lots of nectar in there. Especially this early in the year, dandelions are an amazing source of food for insects as they're waking up from overwintering hibernation. And that's why leaving your lawn a little bit wild and letting these amazing plants grow is really important. So once the flower's done its job and it's been visited by the pollinators, it can set to seed, and each one of those 150 flowers will become an individual seed. And they're clustered together in these big pom-poms on top of the dandelion. But each one of those little tiny seeds is topped by a parachute of hairs. And when they're ready, those little hairs will catch the wind and blow the dandelion seed out across my garden. And then wherever it lands, finds a little crevice or a little crack in the soil or a gap in the pavement, and it can start the process all over again. So this is our dandelion clock. Tick tock, sun clock. Maybe you can find a dandelion clock today. You have to puff and puff as hard as you can and see what time the clock tells you it is.
This is the dandelion spell from Robert Macfarlane and Jackie Morris's The Lost Words. I think it really sums up the dandelion. Dazzle me, little son of the grass, and spin me, tiny time machine. Tick tock, sun clock, thistle and dock. Now no longer known as Dandelion, lion's tooth or wind blown. Tick tock, sun clock, nettle and dock. Evening glow, milk witch or parachute. So let new names take and root, thrive and grow. Tick tock, sun clock, rattle and dock. I would make you some, such as bane of lawn perfectionists, or fallen star of the football pitch, or scatterseed. But never would I call you only, merely, simply weed. Tick tock, sun clock, clover dock. Well, thank you for joining me to look at dandelions today. Maybe you can go and look for a dandelion, and if it's nice and sunny and you sit really quietly next to it, you'll be able to see who comes to visit and maybe count how many insects or which kinds come to find it.